So today I'll speak about a few topics, including building an AI product and embedding artificial intelligence in your SaaS ecosystem to drive value. And I'm also going to throw some light on what is it different when it comes to building an AI product, and what is the role of machine learning when you think through your SaaS business and product performances. What difference machine learning can make and what value can it drive. A very quick introduction about myself: 20 years in the industry as a product leader, angel investor, technology evangelist, and a startup mentor. And over a couple of decades of these experiences, I've brought several products to life. And hopefully today I'll be able to share some meaningful and purposeful insights for you all to carry back home and benefit from, no matter what you might be. If you're a startup founder or happen to be in a corporate position driving products, leading portfolio products, hopefully my insights will help you. I do, deliver keynote speeches in several C-level summits, and got into the Masters of Data Science, the first ever academic program that came to industry about 10 years back. And I do follow a meditation practice called heartfulness. Now, the goal of, just to set the expectations very clear, the goal of today's talk is to inspire and inform product leaders. And I'm going to share insights on several ideas and methodologies and technologies that takes it to build a great AI product. And I'm going to simultaneously stream these theories and citing examples so that you could really take actionable, thinking of AI startup. If you check out Crunchbase, check out any of the sources out there, and you would see that, let's cite some examples. OpenAI, I personally know the founders. Scale AI, I personally know the founders, and I've been on board with several AI startups here in the Silicon Valley. But you look at these startups, what made it possible for these product built startups to really grow so fast? Financially, from an economic standpoint, from an adoption standpoint. And those are the insights. And this is just a quick inspiration. If you look at H2O.ai, I've seen the founder in the last 5 years or so. We've conducted the C-level board rooms together. And at this point in time, they're $250+ million. And many of you would already know, a lot of banking and large-scale customers are using H2O as a framework to operationalize several machine learning use cases. And all of these are very unique startups. So let's talk about AI and the difference that it's making in the world today. So the moment, let's talk about, what do you look at the screen? It's potentially a Rembrandt painting from 1600. And what made it so unique? What made it, at the time of Renaissance, what made it so special? Maybe the style of the painter. He was there were things that he discovered over a period of time with creativity and expertise that he built, and with a creative mindset, that he was using lead white pigment and an oil like linseed oil, and it was the style of his brush strokes, the speed of the drying of the paint that made his paintings very special, over and above his own creative artistic mindset. Now, but what you're looking at now is a picture that was drawn by Walter Thompson, an advertising agency, in 2016. And who do you think drew this picture? Artificial intelligence. This was a picture drawn by generating features, and these input features were quite simple and intuitive, of course validated with data to ensure that the input output model coordination is in sync. A Caucasian male, 30 to 40 years, with some facial hair, wearing a hat, white collar, facing right. These were some of the features that it took a machine learning model to create this picture. And Microsoft sponsored this experiment. So the point I'm making is that, AI has disrupted the business models today, the way we think, the way we do things. And that requires product leaders and business leaders to rethink their approach towards building products. So a business model primarily is creating value and capturing value. So when you think about creating value, it's about your distinct value proposition. If and when you think about value capture, it used to be traditional products used to capture the value by monetizing economies of scale. It was all about efficiencies. It was all about building the processes right. If let's take an example. If it's Amazon, it was all about, can you find a book on the shelf as fast as you can using an index of alphabetical order, and can that book be delivered to customers at a skyrocket speed? It was all about economies of scale. And typical product life cycles, from a traditional mindset, used to be more about, they used to go through a maturity curve that we are all familiar with. Where machine learning makes a difference is that, when you think about machine learning, it started to make a difference of not just delivering the processes in time efficiently, but also gave us an opportunity where humans and machines started to learn at speed and with the intense complexity never before. And it gave us an opportunity to rethink the life cycle of a product, beyond maturity. Take an example. Let me go forward. So now, with the help of machine learning and artificial intelligence, product leaders start thinking of beyond scope, beyond efficiencies, to scope and learnings. What I mean is, let's take an example. So with AI and machine learning, you can think through embedding and integrating the learning in your products. And with those learnings, you can micro-personalize your products. For an example, Uber integrates the learning in the network of riders and drivers so as to price in the peak hours to optimize margins. So you see, learning integrated in a living product itself can help you optimize your margins at the same time. With network effects and learning effects, you can have digital abundance. What it means is you can continually extend your product life cycle without hitting maturity like it traditionally used to do. And that's a major disruption. Take an example of Apple versus Nokia. The platform of Apple created a network effect. And when the moment you think of AI product, these are the couple of things you want to think about. Number one, it's how could you build and leverage networks of users, networks of customer, networks of payers, partners. So in a traditional business model, the value capture was simply an intended target user or customer set paying for your products and services. But in an AI-driven mindset, you think through, hey, maybe there's a set of network where monetizing isn't optimal. We will use them only to generate learnings, to generate data, to generate a knowledge asset. However, we'll have another network of customers. For an example, Google searching network money, but advertisers pay money, and that's the strategy of network, by leveraging network effects. Apple, similar example, by creating an Apple platform and building a network of platform users, Apple created a network effect and a learning effect. So what it takes, how AI makes a difference when it comes to integrating business and operating models. Well, AI does help you to deliver, designing an AI-centric operating model to take an advantage of economies of scale, economies of scope, and economies of learning. And the whole idea is that now you're eliminating human touch points. Now, Uber human talent or workforce, they don't determine in the moment of need which driver would go and serve a targeted rider. It's an algorithm working in the product to cater to the user, to the customers. And keep in mind, this algorithm has a capability to learn in real time on a continual basis to micro-personalize its offering to that rider. And the more the data, the more the network data, the lesser the errors. If some of you might be in the audience might be from data science background, and higher the power of prediction. And this learning, self-iterating algorithm gets stronger and stronger, building a competitive differentiation for Uber, and gives it a time mover's advantage. So no matter what kind of a company you are, building an AI factory, if you're a traditional company or a SaaS product company, it's not just about embedding AI in the product itself, but in the entire ecosystem, like Netflix, Airbnb. All these are examples where they have centralized data and AI factories, ingesting data from disparate and diverse data sources, storing it, leveraging cloud at a very less cost, and generating insights from it to create product market value, on a continual basis, leveraging networking and learning effects. So this is a sample example of just a conceptual high-level example of an AI factory. So unlike previous digital product models, an AI factory could be centric to your operational model to deliver the value at speed and with intelligence that builds a competitive advantage. What is the idea of an AI factory? Now, it doesn't matter if it's an information flow. So products have become platforms, and your customers have become networks. And that's how an AI product leader must think. And the platform might be orchestrating information, or like Facebook, or it might be an Amazon-like platform where you are integrating a traditional distribution and logistic worlds and many operational aspects of brick and mortar with a digital AI-driven experience to deliver value, create and deliver value. But not both these companies and all such companies have AI factories central to their success as an operational foundation. Now, this AI factory, the whole idea behind it is, again, as I said earlier, very quick capture, not just scale, focus on scope, focus on networking effect, focus on learning effect, and that's where a deeper data science and machine learning thinking comes in. A product leader will have to sort of orchestrate the teams from a right kind of user and interface design to right kind of data science models at scale, running continual experiments to learn from their business processes day and night, and continually improve them with a new disrupted economics opportunity given by the AI economy. And as I said earlier, now based on your network and learning effect, your positioning and your advantages could be different. For an example, each company can have different style and topologies of network. Uber has networks which are centralized and clustered in nature. So let's say if Uber were to start in a new random city where the number of drivers and riders aren't too many, in such case, the network effect's weaker. And in order to, and there comes the prioritization and prediction of and prioritizing, whether or not to focus on that city at this point in time. Not having adequate number of riders and drivers makes them vulnerable to the local competitors. While Airbnb does have a global network, and it gives them an advantage of no matter a customer or a guest is traveling to any part of the world, they have a single global network to leverage with strong learning effects and strong. So AI product leader has to think about network strategy, how to embed learning hierarchies, information hierarchies, and taxonomies in the network topologies that you're working with. And once you have networked assets, when you have network assets building over a period of time, let's say Uber has riders and knowledge about those riders. Uber has drivers and knowledge about those drivers. And when I say knowledge, basically data as an asset. They have data, historical data about the behavior of these drivers and riders. Now, can that data of these two-sided network, network of value could be leveraged for other business models? And there comes the time to market. Once you have the network effects rightly leveraged, once you have the learning repositories been rightly captured in an AI factory, you can diversify with time to market into newer businesses, as Uber's doing currently. Thinking through air taxis, thinking to Uber pool cargos, thinking. Uber Eats has been a great success. So, very quick recap now. Why do you think, so we've been all talking about why AI is disruptive when it comes to building an AI product or embedding AI in SaaS, and we learned a few things about networking, network effects, and learning effects. But what about technology? So at this point in time, the convergence of technology is making it is creating even more opportunities than ever before to build a SaaS product and scale it with economies never before because of cloud. Number one, cloud has brought down the storage cost of your data tremendously. It gives you AI embedded in cloud, gives you tremendous opportunity to cleanse, transform, prepare your data that used to take a long time for when it comes to building machine learning model, just about 5 to 10 years before. So AI, the learning effects and networking effects, these are the building blocks that you want to leverage as an AI product leader, and definitely you want to have the right questions being asked while building a design strategy for such products. What are the human touch points that you can substitute with AI for integrative learning within product? So when you go to Netflix and Amazon, keep in mind these recommendation systems. There isn't a human recommending you books, offering you the book, processing your book order. These are AI, processes, AI-driven processes, which not only deliver to you with efficiency, but also learn in the very moment to serve you better next time. You want to definitely think through learning effect. The Boston, I personally think that a lot of this learning effect for AI needs to be still documented. We're still in an era of low level AI, weaker AI, but the time might come in about 15 to 20 years when we will get into relatively stronger AI, sort of a scenario. But even now, the learning effect, the classic Boston learning effect, every time you do a task, you do it better the next time. The same applies to machines, but with 10x or 100x possibilities. AlphaGo is an example where AI, using reinforcement learning, AI taught another AI to outbeat human players in no time, and thus newer, given the cheaper compute, cheaper storage, speedier data processing using parallel distribution and many emerging technologies, that makes it the time for you to build AI product and take an advantage of AI product. You do wanna definitely focus on your network strategies. Is key for you to monetize your value over a period of time and capture digital abundance. Virtualization cloud, I've already mentioned this. These are some of the technologies which are coming together to converge and create new paradigms. Already mentioned about compute cost, storage cost, data sourcing. There are, thanks to the very generative and reinforcement nature of AI learning, that in about 5 years I can observe that AI products have already come to the market that can automatically catalog your data. I still remember 10 years before, just about 10 years before, I worked for so many companies. We used to live in an environment where you ingest the data using ETL, the classic extract, transformation, and load process, to bring the data to the storage. It could be a warehouse, but even if a single field used to change in the source system, just about 10 years before, it used to take months to bring that field to the central data storage. But now AI and many of these cloud offerings across AWS, GCP, and Azure have products. For example, Amazon Glue has a product which has crawlers. It intelligently scans through the data, catalogs it, and creates a metadata catalog for catalog for you. So there are a lot of different possibilities of automating your data pipelines, virtualization of data. Data fabric allows you not even to move your data. If your data is residing across the company, or when you're building a product through different sources, this could be on cloud and device, on the edge. The idea of data fabric and virtualization allows you to let data be there in the physical systems and abstract it out, virtualize it, by creating a model and running a model in the cloud, you see, and that saves tremendous time and cost for you to be able to harvest the learnings from the data. And not to say that smarter world, as IBM often refers it as a smarter planet, more and more connected devices, IoT cars, these are generating more and more data every day. The challenge today isn't about data being available, it's more about product leaders' ability to map the right data to business value and be able to use it with better and right efficiencies. So now let's get into product planning and the building insights. So when you think of a product, building a product, of course you want to start with an idea of what, based on what we learned so far, from a business model and an operating model perspective, how is this problem solving a human challenge or a business process challenge? Let's take a quick example. I remember I used to work for one of the biggest banks, and we were building a fraud detection solutions, and we continually, were catching up with the fraudsters, and we used to think through use cases. One of the use cases that, from an intuition, came to fraud analysts' mind was, hey, there's a concept called credit card bust, in which a fraudster makes a credit card application, gets a credit card, uses all the limits, and leaves the country, leaving it as a bad debt. And it's a very common thing. Millions of such cases happen in the US every month, every year. So we were thinking how to combat this specific fraud, and then an idea came that cities like New York, Toronto in Canada, or London, you have these massive buildings with a common mail rooms, and oftentimes these fraudsters crash into these mail rooms to steal your letters and ID, and then make applications. And one of the metrics that came to our mind is, can we look into the velocity of the net new credit applications from a geo cluster, from a zip code? Now, will that be the right metric? And then once we had this hypothetical business understanding in mind, we had to look through data. Do I have data to validate the strength of this use case? Do I have a postal data mapped to the credit card applications with a timestamp on it, so that I could really look at the velocity of these applications? Now keep in mind, so that's where the data understanding and focusing on the relevance of data is very important. And we had to continually experiment. We created a rolling window calculation. We we explore data in multiple cities to validate this use case, and then and of course goes without saying, if you had to do any calculation, if you were to build any machine learning model, depending on the model, whether you're forecasting, regressing, or classifying, the data needs to be prepared and be readied in a different style. So you must. I'm not sure how many of you do have data science background, but it takes there are two massive steps. One is cleaning the data for its consistency, for making sure there's no misouts, and second is engineering the variables, which because just to ensure that the whole idea of data science and predictions and classification, they work on certain assumptions like normality, the distribution of the data. And in order to bring the data to a distributed desired form, sometimes you have to transform the data by using different mathematical formulas. It could be simple square roots, it could be multipliers, and so on. And so that's the data preparation we're talking about. And then once that's been done, of course, you try different models, different techniques that would apply for estimating the business use case. So in this case, we had to think, are we, for an example, if you're predicting a fraud, the question is, do you want to use random forest? Do you want to use a simple logistics regression? Random forest is nothing but ensembled, set of logistics regression. But once you have these different modeling techniques figured out with your data science teams, you do want to compare these models to see which one offers you, higher accuracy and reliability of such predictions, or whatever you're trying to achieve from the data science. And no one cloud or one tool out there in the market typically helps you in productionalizing these data science models and systems. I've helped Google in enhancing their auto-email products and testing their product. So I have a see-through ability. I've built a lot of AI products for several corporations and brought them to life, within enterprise settings, B2B and B2C settings, And I've learned one thing, that no one cloud, no one tool fits all. No one should fit all kind of a situation out there in the market. So you definitely want to think through a high-touch, custom, production-able architecture. What I mean is, take an example of, maybe you want to use S3 Amazon as a cloud storage, and everybody, including Snowflake, every company uses it. It's everybody. If you don't know, you must be aware that S3 is a classic, most efficient storage data technology out there. But can you then bring in open source Apache platforms or Spark platforms to process the data in the cloud, right? So basically, you are kind of meshing the technologies from cloud to open source to the native cloud stack, and custom built scripts and functions to create an architecture which serves well in deploying and scaling your machine learning application. So
Vishal, I'm sorry to interrupt. We're gonna have to we're gonna have to cut it early. We are already 7 minutes late, so you can finish up your thoughts, and then we're gonna have to move on to the next speaker. I apologize for that.
No worries. Can I finish it in a minute?
Yep, go for it.
All right. So guys, I know that we got delayed because of the technical difficulties. I'm going to quickly close my talk here. When you're building a data product, you want to make sure that you're minimizing the black box approach to the AI models that you're using. The higher the visibility, better sponsor approvals, better investment, and better ethical and compliance, ethical and regulatory compliance that you happen to achieve. A user interface, all it matters to you is it works. If you're watching a movie as a Netflix, you don't care whether AI is recommending you, but if a movie recommended in your personal list, if it is the one you like, you're happy about it. It's the Apple sense of design. Don't hesitate using cheat sheets. There are a lot of cheat sheets out there about what machine learning can do, what kind of techniques, and what each one of these techniques can do for you in a given business context. So Netflix is a powerful example. I'm going to quickly, this is a closer slide. So Netflix, can you imagine an algorithm that saves $1 billion in customer retention? So Netflix has a set of data science models that sort of, personalizes the thumbnails for you. Even when you're watching a screen, it's your personalized custom screen that you're looking at. Even the thumbnails of a movie presented to you are the thumbnails that can speak to you, that can trigger your interest and engage you deeper. And you have recommendation systems recommending you your personal favorite, possible personal favorite movies, and a lot goes in behind the scenes in terms of collaborative and content-driven approaches to build these recommendation systems. And Netflix does leverage the data science to optimize business across the board, including choosing the site for shooting the production of a movie, context awareness, and then it does even this for streaming the quality and predicting the quality of a movie streamed when you happen to be in a train, when you happen to be in a weaker internet connection area. Even those factors are sort of taken into consideration when building some of these models. This was just a sneak peek in how Netflix typically plans out a data science feature strategy on a roadmap for quarters. So personalization, original content building, watching experience, what metric, what kind of technology should be leveraged. The thing through this detailed planning, and I'm just gonna quickly run through all of this. Embedding AI ML in an SaaS ecosystem. Do not disrupt your existing ecosystem. Build a minimum viable product. Make sure that your existing product's not disrupted, existing business and customers not disrupted. Do a lot of experimentation before even you go live. And fundamentally, there are only a few blocks within which you can, at least to start with, you can think of creating and driving value by AI in your SaaS, personalized customer experience, or any human interaction. Automate your processes, predict where feasible to take an economics advantage. Create intuitive searches in a way that deepens your user journey, and and financial uses literally AI to continually identify new feature and release those features for customer. So that's a classic example. And few takeaways for product leaders: keep in mind that AI is any given time for humans, not vice versa. And that's where human in loop is a very important consideration. Machine learning ops and FinOps are a great opportunity to automate your machine learning applications and SaaS products out there in the cloud. Some of these trends are very common. Observability, you want to definitely ensure that your machine itself is constantly observing the models to see what could be done better. Data fabric, I've already just kind of explained earlier. And so I'm going to close it here. Frame the problem right. Make sure that sometimes the business metrics do not necessarily align with the AI metric. So Uber business leaders might say that we want to reduce the pickup times for the riders, but then if AI works in that direction, it may land up missing out a lot of customers and would start taking shorter route customers to fulfill that metric, leading to compromised user satisfaction. So you want to be very, very careful. Ethics for sure, as the AI, every time, like there's a classic resource for you in Macula Institute from Santa Clara. Make sure that again, that AI doesn't have any implications, or the solution you're building cannot be exploited for contrary than what you intended it for. And that's pretty much. I'm gonna call it end. Thank you very much for listening to my talk. And if you have any questions, please reach out to Vishal.Sethi at Bristlecone.com or Vishal at startupomega.com. be happy to help.
Well, thank you so much. I'm sorry to have to cut you off early, and I know we ran into a few issues earlier in the conversation. So I appreciate your time, all the insight you provided. I definitely encourage everyone to connect with Vishal. Do you prefer LinkedIn, Twitter, email? You have a preference?
That's okay. LinkedIn would be awesome. I've also shared my email. So.
Amazing. Yeah. So connect with him. I know we didn't get to go through all your slides, but if anyone's interested in learning more, definitely connect with him. But Vishal, thank you so much for your time again. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a great day, and thanks for joining us today.